What happens when two of Hollywood's most charming personalities sit down for what should be a fun, easy conversation, only for it to unravel into one of the most uncomfortable moments in daytime television history? Today, we're breaking down every glance, every pause, every word from the interview that has everyone talking. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button and share your thoughts in the comments below, because you'll definitely have opinions by the end of this. Kelly Clarkson opens the interview like she always does, bright and cheerful, her warm smile lighting up the set. Colin Farrell walks out to huge applause, looking calm, waving with his usual charm. They exchange greetings, he compliments the set, and she teases him about his latest project. Everything feels easy and relaxed, just another friendly chat. But within minutes, the tone changes completely, and no one in the room sees it coming. Kelly leans forward with interest and asks Colin about how he chooses his roles, especially his recent dramatic ones. It's a safe, typical question. Colin starts answering thoughtfully, explaining that he looks for complex characters with real emotions that connect with audiences. He's articulate, focused, giving her exactly what she needs. The audience is engaged, nodding along. Then Kelly digs a little deeper. She brings up that some critics have noticed he often plays characters facing addiction, conflict, or moral struggle. She says it gently, more as an observation than criticism, but something about her tone makes Colin stop mid-sentence. His jaw tightens slightly before he responds. Colin's reply starts calm. He admits those themes show up often, but says it's not intentional. He talks about how actors don't always choose roles freely, how the industry typecasts, and sometimes you just take work that feels right in the moment. Kelly nods, appearing to agree. But then she references an older interview where Colin discussed his personal struggles in his 20s. She doesn't quote it directly, but hints that maybe his choices now connect to that part of his past. The mood in the studio shifts instantly. This is no longer light entertainment. Colin's body language changes. He sits back, his voice cooler. He says he remembers that interview, that it was a time when he wanted to be open about recovery and mental health. He says he shared to help others, not to have that honesty turned into a lens through which his career would be judged. Kelly tries to clarify that she didn't mean it negatively, that she was simply curious about his process. Her voice is polite but a little defensive. Colin doesn't ease up. He says that intentions don't erase impact, that bringing up personal trauma in public can have consequences no matter how soft the delivery. The audience is dead silent. You can feel the discomfort. Kelly's team must be panicking because this is live TV. No editing, no cutting away. Kelly takes a breath and says that when someone shares their story publicly, it becomes part of how audiences understand their work. She speaks gently, not harshly, but the point is clear. You can't open up and then expect it never to be discussed. Colin responds quickly and sharply. He says there's a huge difference between public conversation and being asked about trauma on a talk show meant to entertain. That word, entertainment, lands heavily. Kelly reacts, reminding him this is her show, yes, entertainment, but also a space for real discussions. She insists she prepares carefully and genuinely cares about her guests. Colin nods and says that's exactly why she should understand why using someone's recovery as a talking point isn't meaningful. It's reductive. The tension is unbearable. Kelly's smile is gone. She's clearly shaken. She tells him she respects his view but believes he's misinterpreting her question. She argues that analyzing artists through their work has existed for centuries. Colin fires back that analyzing art is one thing, psychoanalyzing a real person's pain is another. Kelly's tone grows firmer. She points out that Colin has spoken publicly about these issues before without reacting this way, and asks why this time is different. Colin's answer shocks everyone. He says maybe he's just done letting people treat his life like a case study, that he's finally finished pretending it's okay. The camera zooms in on Kelly's face as she processes this in real time, trying to steady herself. She apologizes, saying she never wanted him to feel exposed or attacked. But she adds that as someone who's shared her own struggles, she thought she was creating a safe space. Colin laughs, coldly. He says comparing their situations isn't fair, that her openness was received positively, while his honesty about addiction hurt his career. He reveals that some directors refused to cast him, worried about reliability, and that insurance companies raised premiums because of his past. Kelly looks stunned. She admits she didn't know, and says she assumed Hollywood had evolved past that. Colin shakes his head, saying assumptions like that are part of the problem. Kelly tries to shift the tone, saying his talent speaks for itself regardless of what anyone thinks of his past. But Colin cuts her off. If his work speaks for itself, why did she bring it up? Why couldn't they just talk about acting, about the craft? Kelly fumbles for an answer, mentioning context and connection, but Colin interrupts again. He says audiences want stories that help them escape, not reminders of the actor's pain. Kelly disagrees, saying authenticity is what people want now, not escape. Colin replies sharply that authenticity and exploitation aren't the same, that no one should be expected to bleed for the camera. Vulnerability, he says, should be a choice, not an obligation. The audience is split, some agreeing with him, others supporting Kelly. Kelly says she appreciates his honesty and will be more careful with her questions. Colin tells her it's not just about being careful. It's about rethinking the whole system, that maybe these interviews do more harm than good. Kelly reminds him that he chose to be here. Colin nods, saying she's right, but adds that he often has no real choice, that contracts and studios demand it. Kelly softens. For the first time, they seem to truly hear each other. She admits she also feels trapped by expectations, network pressure, sponsors, audiences. Colin nods again, a small understanding forming between them. Then Kelly suggests maybe this kind of honest confrontation is exactly what's needed to change things. Colin asks if she really believes his on-air breakdown will change anything. Kelly says maybe small moments matter. Colin doubts it, but hopes she's right. He says he just wants this to mean something more than another viral clip. The studio is so quiet that every sound feels amplified. Kelly asks if he wants to address the audience directly. Colin turns to the camera and says that anyone who's ever felt pressured to reveal too much has the right to set boundaries, to protect their story. Vulnerability is powerful, but it shouldn't be demanded. True strength is knowing when to say no. The crowd is motionless. Kelly adds that as someone who asks the questions, she'll think more carefully about the line between curiosity and intrusion. She thanks Colin for being open, even though it was hard. Colin thanks her too, saying she could have cut to commercial but chose to stay. Kelly admits she mostly felt confused and defensive, but appreciates that he stayed engaged. They shake hands, a gesture that feels both formal and meaningful. The audience finally claps, hesitant, unsure what they're applauding. Colin waves briefly and walks off as Kelly turns back to the camera. Her face shows a mix of relief and exhaustion. She admits this wasn't the conversation she expected and hopes viewers will approach it with empathy instead of judgment. She says growth comes from discomfort, and today was uncomfortable, which probably means it mattered. She closes the show softly, more subdued than usual, clearly shaken but real. As the show fades to commercial, she exhales deeply, the weight of what just happened setting in. Within minutes, the internet explodes. Clips flood every platform. Some defend Colin for setting boundaries. Others defend Kelly for doing her job. Many say both were right, that the exchange exposed real problems in how celebrity interviews work. Articles appear within hours, experts debating what it all means. Mental health advocates talk about trauma in media, critics question talk show ethics, and actors start sharing their own stories of boundary-crossing interviews. The conversation doesn't solve anything overnight, but it cracks something open. It forces people to admit that the system, this endless demand for openness and performance, isn't working. Maybe it's the start of something new, or maybe it'll fade into the next viral moment. Either way, it left everyone thinking. So, what do you think? Did Colin go too far by calling Kelly out? Or was he right to challenge how these interviews blur the line between empathy and intrusion? Was Kelly out of line, or was she simply following the playbook talk shows have always used? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe, because this conversation is far from over.